So I don't know if you remember last year, Idris Elba around September started up he had a campaign or started a campaign where he met with the government. I believe Keir Starmer and the Home Secretary was there, and he met with them to talk about blade crime, as he called it, but basically knife crime. So he was trying to raise awareness. They were talking about things in regards to prevention, what are the causes and whatnot. The reason why that links into what I'm going to mention is that this year, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, a young man by the name of, I've got his name written down, Kyla Bokassa, was murdered in Woolwich on a bus, right? Also, we're the 9th of January. So the start of this year, there have been 4 knife crimes already, where 3 out of the 4 reported are actually in hospital now fighting for their lives. So currently right now, the youngest person to wield a knife was 12 years old. This wasn't in London, this was in Wolverhampton. What I'm leading to is that there is a problem with knife crime in the UK. So last year, between the times of December to December, 19,000 cautions were issued between people of the age of 10 to 17 up and down the country. So there is a problem. So my question is, and I think we were discussing it in the WhatsApp group, is well, firstly, I'm highlighting it, knife crime, bad, we need to do something. But what things do we think should be done to curb or to even stop people from carrying knives? What is, and maybe we go back and say, what do we think is the cause? There was someone who is an influencer or whatever said, if you put your kids in a tech fleece and let them wear ballies, they're going to attract. Well, he didn't say that. He said they will get G-checked. I can't remember his name. I'm not too au fait with all of those people. But is it clothing?
It was Champagne Pappy or Pappy.
Whoever.
Fruit Punch Pappy. I mean.
All right, cool. So him. Is that a fact? Do we need to think about what our kids are wearing? What do you guys think?
I mean, we've covered the knife crime side of things about 3 times, and obviously it's something that really touches me quite a lot anyway. It's been said before about doing the longer terms for people, like you just said, the amount of people that have been caught with it and got cautions. If they was getting caught and they was going to jail for a long time rather than being cautioned, it would then deflect. It will stop people from wanting to carry, or it's a deterrent to carry the knives in the first place. It's something that I don't think is just going to change by any other thing other than people being banged to rights when they're carrying it. So if you get caught carrying one, then you do go to you just hit jail. That's it, and that will stop people from wanting to carry them.
You know what? It's funny you say that, because I was having a conversation with someone today, and they said if I wanted to buy, and this is very extreme, but I get the point. And hopefully you do. If I wanted to buy a surface-to-air missile to shoot a plane down, how would I get it?
Couldn't tell you.
You couldn't tell me.
Black market.
But could I get it? I could get it. Black market, dark web, whatever it may be. So, but those things are only produced by certain people, and governments allow them in. So is there an issue that the government need to interject? And maybe this is what Idris was talking about in regards to, and I think you've mentioned this, about the sale of weapons and how things can be bought.
Yeah, I think that's a hard one to kind of govern or to even put in place. I mean, these kids, yes, of course, you've got the extremes where they're coming out with what they call these zombie knives and these Rambo knives and all these kind of extreme weapons. But a knife is a knife. So butcher's knife, a bread knife, if the intent of that person is to carry a weapon or a knife, be it a knife, a screwdriver, it's still a piece of equipment that can do, serious harm, and in some cases take your life away. So I don't think going after the actual weapon, of course there's the weapons where we're talking about, these, and I want to call them unrealistic weapons, because some of these weapons are designed so poorly because it's only based around the aesthetics that even the users sometimes will injure themselves because there's blades on both sides and all these kind of craziness. So those, they should be
what it is though?
Age. Oh no, not like there should be an age category or something, a bit like the way they treat porn, that strictly 18, you can't even go on the website and all this kind of stuff, and prove ID and all this kind of stuff. But even with that, if I sit here now and I'm saying, well, yeah, we bring it to the age of 18, somebody turning 18 today, tomorrow, next week, and then buying it then, does that really make a difference that they're buying it now that they're 18 opposed to when they were 17? So to me, that age thing, yes, it's obviously something that you can do to protect it and to try and govern it as much as possible, but it's about the education of that person who's buying the weapon in the first place.
I don't agree with you at all. Make it impossible to buy. If you can buy on the dark web, so can I. If I can buy on the dark web, so can the police, so can the justice system. So you have to find where these are being manufactured and where they're being sold into the UK. Period. Someone could be making them in Japan, someone could be making them on the Isle of Wight, someone could be making them in Turkey or wherever. However, they're being accessed here. So you need to cut off the access point. If you cut off the supply, then the demand obviously will raise, but the supply is going to go down, which would remove a significant number of these types of weapons off the street, period. Firstly. Secondary, how it's policed. Now, there are things such as over-policing, which I fully agree with, but under-policing results in lives being lost. And my issue is the lives that are being lost are mainly our young people's lives. And when I say our young people's lives, I'm talking children.
There was 14 people murdered last year through knife crime between the ages of, I've got it written down, sorry, I should remember this.
That's okay.
Between the ages of 10 to 17.
Wow.
So for me, straight away, you can see where some of the problem lies. At the end of the day, if these weapons are accessible, they're going to buy them. They're going to use them. The outcome of someone's life being taken away is much higher. Don't get me wrong. If it was screwdrivers or bread knives or whatever, it's still not great. However, some of these, I saw a video just on Insta as it goes, outside Westfield. And these boys, there was a fight and this boy just pulled out this blade. The blade was half the length of his leg. And the security came out and they surrounded him far enough that he couldn't attack any one of them, but they couldn't do anything. So he was acting like a maniac. And I was watching this and I was like, his face was fully on show.
Oh, it was on show?
Was on show, yeah. So I was just like, in my head, I was like, there's no, there was no remorse. There's whatever he's planning to do, I'm going to do it anyway and whatever. And in my head, I was just like, wow, this is mad. Now, evidently, if you get caught, are you getting cautioned? And if you're getting cautioned, are you back out doing the same thing tomorrow? Secondly, if you then go with heavier jail terms, what are the jails and prison systems, what does it look like? If it's a walk in a park where they're like, I'll go jail. Do you know what I mean? If the jail was like Guantanamo Bay, no one's going to be saying, let me just go there. Do you get what I mean? Now, I'm not turning around and saying build more Guantanamo Bays, but what I'm saying is the education is incorrect. And I've said this before, the parenting has to take responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. There are signals to tell you that your child is involved in nonsense.
What? That, and we're all fathers, fathers of sons as well. What signal? And there might be a parent, a father, or a mum who's watching this now, and is thinking, right, there might be those signals, but I've got no idea what those may be. What do we think that those signals would be?
All right, so there's two things. Not to go back, but you can get knives anywhere. You can go into someone's kitchen and get a knife.
Yeah, sorry, and let me just explain. There were 38,000 incidents which happened in England and Wales alone, and what they included into the statistics was sharp objects. So knives and sharp objects, screwdrivers, a piece of glass that someone's picked up, a smashed champagne bottle. But again, it's still classed as, comes under the banner of, or people will take it as the banner of knife crime, which I'm not against. Whatever it is, it should be classed as whatever it is.
So there's two things I want to say before I go into your question. The first one is, one thing that I think as Citrus said about the banning of knives, it's impossible to do that. I just think it's something you can't do. Knives are going to be made in the back of someone's shed if they want to sell it, whatever the case may be. And a knife could be a kitchen knife. One of the incidences last year I remember actually happening, the kid went into his mum's kitchen, took a knife, and then went out, and then something happened from it. But anyway, so there's that. There's also the fact that I believe one of the things that the government should do, and this is going to be something that human rights and everybody will absolutely lose their mind over, is I'm not happy saying a 17-year-old stabbed someone, killed someone, and they're getting a much lesser sentence or a juvenile kind of overview at it because they're considered a kid. Whereas if it happened 2 weeks later when they were 18, they're then trialed as a man. I think this knife crime thing, we need to start looking at lowering the age of what we consider
It
full penalty.
he was only a child. Yeah, reasonable responsibility.
I mean, there's a double-edged sword to that. What you're saying.
Like I said, human rights and all those kind of things, we'll look at it. But from what I'm saying, if you've committed that crime, I'm not prepared to sit back and say, oh, well, you know what, he's only 17, so therefore, if I'm a father and this has happened
You're going to be trialed as a child. Or
trialed as a child. So because of that, kids know this, or young people know, well, you know, I'm 17 now, you know, what's the worst you're going to do to me? And this is something that you have to understand. Once you put a number in front of something and you say, you know what, this is the cutoff, people, human beings, will take it as close as possible to the wire as they can. That's just human nature.
But also remember, elders recruit the youngest to do these jobs because they won't get.
Like I said, they're taking it to as close to the as possible. So that's
going back to the original question.
Yeah, and then I'm coming back to your original question. So apologies for that, but taking it to the original question now. I don't think it's a case of for most people, you wake up one morning and your kids now decides to, you know, do all these crazy stuff. I think, as we've said many times, these things start from almost birth. The connection that you have with your child from birth, the communication, the interaction that you have, where are you going after school? What are you doing after school? Where are you? What are you up to? What are you doing in your free time? Because, you know, as the saying goes, the devil makes work for idle hands. And if your kids are in a position where they have a lot of free time and you, your family, or no one's filling this time, they're going to find things to occupy that time. Be it maybe them sitting in front of a computer playing one of the popular games, Fortnite, you know, whatever the game is at the moment. That's something that they're doing to take up their time. Now, a lot of parents will say, you know what, I don't want my kids sitting in front of a computer all day long playing computer game or whatnot. However, other parents are saying, you know what, I'd rather that person be here.
I know where they are.
And I know where they are and I know what they're getting up to and this and that and the other. So is it accountability? Is it, you know, avoiding your responsibility or whatever the case may be? It's for you to then look at it in that way. But for me, the way to combat it as much as you can as a parent is to be almost overbearing. What are you up to? Where are you going? Come with me. I'm going here. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Involve them in everything you're doing. So your life and their life is intertwined.
I get that. I hear what you're saying. But there are situations out there with parents where the child is 14, 15, going through puberty, where you can't say, right, I'm going to Sainsbury's, you're coming. They're staying at home. So again, back to the original question, are there any signs that we think that we might have seen, one of our friends has told us about, we might have gone through, that we can put out there, right, look at this, look at that. So there might be one where, like quite a new fad is potentially smoking and vaping. So if you're, and maybe more smoking, if your children or your child is smoking weed, potentially they've got to get that from somewhere. Is that a telltale sign that other badness might be going on?
I wanted to say there's 2 points. I hear your point, and I will answer your question. But I wanted to say something about regards to the where you get it from part of the conversation. I want to say something a few questions ago, and what happened to the acids when the acid attacks started to happen? What did they do that made the acid attacks disappear?
They put in age restrictions.
Purchasing.
They limited where. So the real corrosive acids, you could only get them from like builders merchants. And then when you get them from builders merchants, you had to provide your ID or whatever it may be to say that you were of age, and in some cases you had to prove that you were a tradesman.
Which is why they stopped.
And they limited the quantities you can purchase as well.
Which is why they stopped. Which refers
I'm not
back
sure it
to
stopped.
It's when I say stopped, it definitely reduced, because it came to a point where it was so rife. it was like people started getting scared of rolling down their window. It's like you roll down your window and you have it open, driving about, someone could just stop it and just dash acid in your face.
But do you think that the acid attack was a fad for that time, that it was...
No, but what the point was, and what before we go too far off of it, right, is just the fact that what Citrus said before about the controlling of it, that's how it stopped. That's how it lessened. That's how it near enough disappeared. Do you know what I mean? I haven't heard of an acid attack for at least a good 3, 4, 5 years.
But on knives, there is age restrictions.
Age restrictions ain't gonna help it. I mean, like I said, if you I said in the beginning, put a sentence on it. If kids out there new to themselves and do it by the length of the knife, if you like, all right, they new to themselves. Well, if I get caught with a knife, just on a random stop and search, and someone catches me with a knife, I'm gonna be doing 5 to 6 years inside a prison. All of a sudden, it's like, right. And if I get caught with a zombie knife, I might do 10 years.
But then
I'm all right.
What Dean said that happened at Stratford, that boy was I say it was a boy. Blatantly, his face was out. People were recording. He had the knife and he was looking to chop anyone. So he didn't care.
Because there's no you're gonna catch me with the knife.
Right, okay, fine.
Because what's gonna happen? I'm gonna get a caution
because he knew,
and I'll be out by the weekend.
Okay. So have they changed that law yet about where if it hasn't got, I don't know, Killer 3000 on it?
The name?
No, that's still there. I think.
No. I think that's passed.
Yeah.